Namaskar. Hello and welcome to P Guru's channel. I'm your host Sri Iyer, our weekly hangout with Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar. And today we are going to be talking about the friendship of India and Russia as they sing Ye Dosti Hum Nahi Todenge and drive off into the sunset. So let's welcome Ravi Shankar ji and we will talk about what is happening in the other two major countries such as the United States and China. Why are they hyperventilating, or maybe they are not, but what are the reactions coming? Let's welcome General Ravi Shankar. General Ravi Shankar, namaskar. Jai Sri Ram, how are you, sir?
Namaskar. Thanks a lot, and it's a pleasure to be back on, P Gurus and Ghana Short
Um,
weekly
General Ravi
discourse.
Shankar, Putin and Modi are singing Sholay songs. And in fact, that Dasha was a very nice touch to the whole thing, taking the relationship
Yeah,
to a slightly different level. These are all small, small messages. Some will say that Putin came to receive Xi Jinping at the airport and he did not do that to Modi. But then on a previous visit, he did come to see him off at the airport.
yeah.
These optics can go either way. I mean, so how much you want to read into them is another matter. I yield the floor to you, sir. I know you have some presentation also to go with this. Over to you.
Yeah, I think this is a very interesting development which has happened between Russia, India, USA, and China. All four are involved. And this is, when you said Ye Dosti, Sholay type, I call it To Russia with Love, right? And straight out of the Bond movie. I think we'll dive into the whole story, and I would like the presentation on because I'll go through that. That will put things in the right perspective. Yeah, look, this is the cartoon which came in Global Times. This is the Global Times reaction where they've shown India Russia going off in a car towards multipolarity with Uncle Sam not being happy. But the actual story, in my way, is this. This little fellow next door, he is also scratching his head as to what's happening, right? So you have to understand there are four actors in this, and that's what we're going to talk of today. I'll take you back to cartoon, which I keep. This is dear to me. It is a South China Morning Post cartoon. This is about 1 year back, where they've shown Biden, Modi, Xi Jinping, and Putin, at four corners of the world. And it is from this I developed this quadrilateral. And this is the important quadrilateral. I keep getting it out because to my way of looking at it, the world has four great powers today. I'm making no bones about it. And you see, in the four corners of the quadrilateral, USA and India have attraction, so have China and Russia. On the sides, I've shown the arrows where the attraction and repulsion is. Okay, but that's not the only thing. Let's look at it from an India viewpoint because I would like to see this from an India viewpoint. Now, the China-India equations will be strained for a long time. It's a no-brainer. India is a global partner of both Russia and USA. And it needs both. We need both. There's no doubt. We should not have any doubt about it. The question is, can India and USA or India-Russia partnership alone balance China? No. Can USA afford to take on China-Russia partnership without India? Again, the answer is no. This is a complicated thing which is actually happening. And I'll decipher it in those, we'll take a 360-degree view of it. Uh, no, we have to go back to the SEO summit, which just happened a week back, 10 days back. It was all about China. Russia was sidelined. India was absent. And then it came out that Russia and China are bound by a common antagonism against USA and the West. But the question is, are there strains in the Russia-China ties? And that was also there because Russia was virtually sidelined in this. And we'll talk about it a little further down the line. Okay. Now, what is BBC's opinion on this whole story? BBC is given a very good opinion and analysis of this. I'll just go through it quickly. Modi's balancing act as he meets Putin in Moscow. So it's a balancing act they talk of. But more important points which are made. India is a key global economy. US has raised concerns with India regarding its relationship with Russia. That's the thing we're going to talk of. What's important is Russia has been one of the constants in our foreign policy. And not now, for the past 75 years. Uh, US has cultivated global closer ties with India, basically as a bulwark against an assertive China. We know that. But due to Western hostility, Russia has developed closer ties with China. Now, this development is, concerning for us, right? We have apprehensions of the Moscow-Beijing equation because that limits a lot of things for us. We want to keep the Russia channel open to maintain friendship, avoid taking any measures which will aggravate Russia's drift to China. So all these are there. But at the same time, we have certain differences also. We'll talk of it. We are also aware completely that, like I said earlier, we need both USA and Russia to counter China. It's complicated, but that's how it is. And we are very clear that it is a policy of strategic autonomy. And this is what BBC has analyzed. India follows a policy of strategic autonomy and multi alignment, strategic relationship with both the US and Russia are mutually exclusive partnership. But the important word in this whole story is balancing, right? Balancing. I'll get back to this issue of balancing a little later, right? Now, what does New York Times say in an opinion? And the headline is as Modi meets Putin in Moscow, India seeks to chart its own course. What's the opinion? India is determined to carve its own foreign policy. India needs both USA and Russia to counter China, and it is constantly trying to balance its relationship. BBC talks of balancing, New York Times also talks of balancing. It's seeking to reinforce its relations with Russia to counter Russia's same thing almost. India also needs American backing. But here I want to spend a minute on balancing. Hitherto, India was considered a swing state. Whichever side India went, that side gained strength. I think today you're seeing India being a balancing power. Everyone now talks of India balancing relationships, which is a little higher than the swing state story, right? That is why that, cartoon which I showed about the new, South China Morning Post is important. You're a grown power, and we have to behave like that. We can't keep, anymore saying, oh, so and so will attack us, and this chap will do, and we are at a disadvantage. We are a growing power, we have to act big, right? In the same story, let me take Washington Post. What does Washington Post say? Modi bear hugs Putin in Moscow, marking deep ties between Russia and India. That's fine. Almost the same story. They also Washington Post also opines what BBC has said, what New York Times has said. But what's interesting here, which is the second point, Russia remains a crucial source of weaponry, energy, and space technology that India sees as an indispensable in becoming a great power. When you say energy, it is nuclear energy. Then the next thing is Russia needs Indian purchases of Russian oil products and hopes India will keep some distance from the United States. So you want Russia to keep distance from China. Russia wants us to keep distance from USA, right? Now, all this also look at it, what he says demonstrates India's aspirations, shows India has not lost its autonomy, even though it's receiving new investments, technologies, and weaponry from USA. So it's all about balance, right? And these are major opinions in my way of looking at it. Does it stop here? What do the Chinese think? Look at it. Chinese have covered it quite a bit. 3 articles of the South China Morning Post. Okay, they talk of the whole thing. No, even this is what they say. I mean, this is the analysis coming out of China. PM missing the SEO summit is a clear rebuff to China. Okay, they also talk of this visit is a sign of India's unresolved tensions with China and desire to maintain strong ties. Now, China has started talking of India's balancing of foreign policy between major powers. So India is now, they also started considering that India is a major power. I mean, this is something, I'm not talking the normal thing, I'm talking quite different from what, stories we hear. The balancing diplomacy, these are the words, please mind that coming out of China and the global times, it's very important. The balancing diplomacy is not only in India's interest, but contributes to a global strategic balance. Okay? As per them, it frustrates US efforts to contain and isolate China naturally. Right.
Isolate
So,
Russia.
yeah, sorry, isolate Russia. I agree. Sorry, slip of tongue. But in this article is silent about the effect on China. I'll touch upon that a little late. I'm just coming to that. This is it. The print, Sana Hashmi has analyzed it, that saying that Chinese are angry that West isn't outraged enough by Modi. And sure enough, again it comes out in the Global Times. See what the Chinese feel. The right one is Chinese. In contrast to the criticism and pressure China has received from the US and West over the Russia-Ukraine conflict, India has received less criticism for not condemning Russia or joining the West in imposing sanctions. Instead, it has maintained ties with Russia and capitalized on buying oil. Now, China is feeling jealous. It says, look, India has got away with everything, and we are being sanctioned, we are being threatened. Now you just expose it as what NATO, yesterday, day before the NATO conference said, they want China for getting close to Russia, but they've not said anything about India. So you see this situation which has developed where India has now become a major player for all the other three powers. These are the three global powers. Okay. Now, but like I said, is everything hunky dory between Russia and China? No. See this. North Korea's shifting satellite allegiance to Russia signals China's waning influence. What has happened? North Korea used to use a Chinese satellite for their state TV. Now they've shifted to Russia. Okay. Now, on the other hand, China and Belarus have become good friends and they're holding exercises, which means China is now started showing its presence in the continent, in the Russiosphere. You could talk of Anglosphere and Sinosphere. There's a Russiosphere also of the ex-Soviet countries, and Russia is not happy about it. So there's a strain in that relationship also. So you see that quadrilateral, while there are attractions and repulsions, there are also strains. So every equation has certain problems involved in it. Okay. Now, the complete USA, West, everyone is unhappy that our Prime Minister went just when the Kiev bombing took place, of the children died, and he shouldn't have gone to Russia and all that. Here, what I'd like to say is the follow-up with Austria came out with the thing. Of course, our Prime Minister is very clearly said, I think that's the next slide, I'll just read that out. Okay, I'll get to that a little later. Of our Prime Minister has spoken his mind to Putin very clearly. Now, in Austria, PM has confirmed that this is not the time for war. He said this last when he met Putin directly, कि भाई ये युद्ध का युग नहीं है. And he's went and met a Nobel laureate in Austria, and who has said, look, the PM is very spiritual. So he's given a different view. So a certain amount of counter to the emotions which are coming out of USA. The negative emotions on India coming out of USA have been countered in Austria, not in Russia direct, but in Austria. I'll come a little later back to what our PM said. Okay. And then what is the US view? The US wants India to be firmly on their side and no one else. And that's the US way of doing things. They want allies and not partnerships. They're not comfortable with partners. they want us to be their allies. They're prepared to understand the value of Russia-India ties up to a point, not beyond that. That is very clear now. There's a strong US lobby which views India as backsliding democracy, right? And that to some extent was offset by the elections, but still the view has not gone off. And then, of course, there's an anti-India, pro-Pakistan lobby which continues to ignite the Khalistan issue one way or the other, either through Canada or whatever. It's there. But then they also know that the Indo-Pacific strategy is largely hinged on India. Okay. Now, following all this, see what Reuters has said. India's Modi tells Putin heart bleeds over death of children in war. It is only our Prime Minister. What he's read, the visiting Indian leader used emotive language to deliver an implicit rebuke to Putin at a summit intended to underscore the deepening partnership between their two countries. Putin has rarely been criticized face to face over the war in Ukraine by the leader of a country that Russia sees as a friend. So this is done twice. So I don't see why USA is so het up and upset about it. Right? In due course, I'm sure they will come to their balance and see things in the right perspective. Okay, but what has USA said? Again, a dual tone is coming out of USA. They very clearly said that India will remain a strategic partner despite concern because they don't have an option out of going out of the partnership, which means that they can't handle China. Look, let me be very clear. I've always said that as much as India needs USA, USA needs India. You can't get away from it. Okay, you want to handle China properly, you need India. Otherwise, forget it. Okay. But at the same time, Modi's embrace, this is Bloomberg yesterday, Modi's embrace of Putin urges Biden team pushing support for Kiev. I mean, the way I look at it, the Ukraine war is not India's war. And where was USA when we had a problem with Pakistan? Right? All these questions come up. I'll touch upon them a little later. Right? What is Russia? Let's talk about Russia. One has to look at the Russian angle also. Look, Russia is too huge a country with 7 time zones. You can't defeat it. This is the only country probably today, other than USA, which has got surplus energy and resources, and it is technologically self-sufficient. Right? You can't just wish away Russia. Its GDP might be low. That's because of many other reasons. Now, whatever Russia has done, just look at it, how smartly it has played its trick. Russia has put China and USA on tenterhooks. It's not only India, it's also Russia. Russia has secured its economic and strategic interests with this visit. Okay, it has deterred NATO with escalation threat. So NATO has also been limited, and I think Russia is playing for time. When Trump returns, you will see this whole story changing completely. Okay. Now, what is our take? We want to return our strategic autonomy. We want to secure our interests. Our interests are prime. We need to balance relationships. Okay. We need to understand that Russia is India's all-weather friend, all time. Okay. And we need to marginalize the effect of Russia-China ties. So you cannot afford to, ignore Russia. Okay, Russian support is important if we have to get a seat in the UN Security Council. Also, we have a clear idea that tomorrow, say Trump comes and there's a rapprochement between US and Russia, or to wind down the Ukraine war, India will be required. It will not be there. And we've also offered to help end the Ukraine war. Right. India-Russia ties are important to ensure it is not a completely bipolar world. If you break your ties with Russia, China will be one pole, USA will be one pole, and we'll be left hanging in between. So there is no way. That's why I said India provides a global energy balance through its oil purchases. It's a well-known fact that we purchase oil from Russia, refine it, and sell it to home. We sell it to Europe and USA. So you are balancing the energy thing also. If you don't take oil from Russia, right, first our interests are affected. The second is that global oil prices and economy will go off. So all this is known, but still there is certain more emotion coming out of USA on this whole story and China. China has not spoken much, but like I've shown you, China has also spoken in its own way. Okay, now what has this is the ANI tweet where this is Prime Minister Modi's words. He has said, okay, very clearly, perhaps this is such a meeting that the focus of the entire world is on this visit of mine. Everyone is focusing, everyone is having his own opinion of it. It's not lost on us. The entire world is drawing out different meanings of this visit. Very significant. Yesterday, you invited me to your residence, which you spoke of, Mr. IRG, and like a true friend, we spent 4 to 5 hours together. We discussed several topics. I'm happy that we openly discussed the issue of Ukraine in detail. And we tried to listen and respectfully understand each other's opinions. So you see that India has conveyed a message to Russia also. You look at what Reuters said, it's almost a rebuke. Here, the Prime Minister has put it out in the open that he has discussed Ukraine. He's gone to Austria and said this is not the era of war. So all round, things are actually, being put in their place, and India is really balancing the whole story out. Now, when you look at USA, you also have to understand that USA went to a US army contingent, went to Pakistan and did an exercise for 2 weeks. It finished 3 days back. This is from Pakistan media. Pakistan US hold joint military exercises in Pabi, right? And then what about this? We also have our angst. Has this been these taken care of, right? So when you talk of Sikh separatism, Khalistan, and all that, the USA says it's free speech. So if that is the thing, it's you can't have an apples for oranges comparison that you can't compare the two. There are certain norms for the strategic partnership, right? You have to be sensitive to each other. Only then the partnership is on an even keel. To that extent, I think a strong message is going back to US. Okay, I put it this way: India needs to look after its own interests. I mean, other interests, I'm not bothered. So India must be wary of Russia and USA. You go back to 62, Russia didn't side with us against China, right? And if so, we have to be very where we can go with Russia and where we can't go. We also have to be wary about how far we can go with USA. Go back to 71. I am one of those guys who still remember in school time that the Seventh Fleet came to the Bay of Bengal and it was threatening our subcontinent. But India must also be thankful to Russia's support during 72, US support during Yangtze and denouncing, when China issued that standard map where Arunachal Pradesh was part of China, and thereafter endorsing that, Arunachal Pradesh is part of India. I mean, we have to look at it in a balanced manner. I'm not saying go against USA. I'm not saying go against Russia or be with them completely. Need to balance. And USA also needs to understand that we have our issues, right? We are with them, but we have our issues. We are with Russia, we have our issues. Ultimately, we'll do what is good for us. And we have our major issues with China. And I'd like to make a point. India's strategic autonomy is completely dependent on Atmanirbharta. And with this is the last slide I want to show. I want to tell everyone we have to understand that India has emerged as a global balancer in this quadrilateral. We need to play our part. There's nothing for us to worry about. We are a strong nation. We cannot be just defeated like anything else. It's gone are the days of 62 and all that, right? We can take the slides off. We can now, uh, we are now a strong nation, and like I said, you look at the India-China relationship after 62 military. After 62, look at what happened in 67 Natula and or in Yangtze or in Doklam or in Eastern Ladakh or in Arunachal Pradesh, long back 84. We've held the Chinese. In fact, if you look at it, we are the only one who's held the Chinese back. And US understands this. So you look at it any which way, right? We must understand that we are a powerful nation. In fact, there was an article the other day in Economic or Times of Financial Times where someone has said that India will be a superpower by 2050. What about time frame? But they're talking. People are talking of India being a superpower. New York Times in one of its this very article which I showed, it says it's an Asian giant. So we need to rethink the way we have to behave and the way we have to have confidence in ourselves. USA, Russia, China might have their opinions about India, and we might have our opinions about them, but the time has come for us to be thinking big, right? That's all I wanted to put across. Yeah. Any questions, any discussion? Let's take it on. And of course, you would have certainly views, Mr. Shreyar, because I respect
Yeah,
them. I would like you to comment on what I've said.
absolutely. I was just getting ready for that. Just give me 1 second. I needed to find
Yeah.
out something. Um, okay. So we have close to 500 people watching this video, viewers, and we have only about 250 likes. I request all of you to like this video. General Ravi Shankar comes prepared, spends a lot of time. This thing came about after we both went back and forth for about 4 or 5 days. I have zero contribution in this. This is coming live to you both from here as well as from Gunner Shot. So those of you who are also on Gunner Shot, please do subscribe to Gunner Shot. It's worth its weight in gold. Serious discussions that will lead to a prosperous Bharat and perhaps a peaceful world. Both are implicit in that. You need to understand, you have to go through the videos to see the quality and the content, and I'll be eternally indebted to General Ravi Shankar for considering me as a serious enough platform to come and exchange his views. General Ravi Shankar, one thing that was very interesting to notice after the visit of Modi to Russia was that the Department of State was saying one thing, while the ambassador of United States to India was saying something slightly different. So this is sort of again the strategic ambiguity. One side wants to take some pot shots, the other side is saying no, 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 no. This is a very critical relationship. Do you think moving forward, this is how it is going to be? That some people in US will be against India, making statements. Some will be saying pro, but there is a focus on which way to move forward.
Look, US is a democracy. We are a democracy. In democracies, there are always two opinions. So two opinions will come from USA, two opinions will come from India also, right? But what's the official opinion? The official opinion is more important. Official opinion is very clear that India and US strategic partnership will continue. We have common interests. Partnership is based on interests. It's not on opinions, right? There will be certain messages coming through each opinion which is put across. No problems. Take it on. Like I said, we've become big boys. Let's take it on and give it back to them. After all, democracy is jaw, not you will talk. But when you talk, put it up, put your point across to them also. And that I think our prime minister has done very well. I mean, hats off to him. The way he's conveyed the point to Mr. Putin, the way he's put it in public, and the way after the visit he's gone to Austria and put it across, put it out. Many people don't latch on to this. That's why I was very keenly observing this whole story, right? And you know, uh, In fact, tomorrow I want to do one on India China as a result of this because there are reactions coming from there. So that I'll be doing on Gunner Shot, those of you, because there are other issues also I'll pull in there on economy and things like that and world opinion. You have to see the totality of this relationship, and then you see that India is now a big player, and you have to act big, not get involved with partisan uh, outlooks within India. Because the bigger thing is we need to be united in India. I mean, we might have our differences politically, but for India, all political parties must stand together and talk.
Yes, indeed. And when the Indian opposition, which has now become quite significant, says that Modi has not, slowed in his stride after the third term, tells you a lot. They are actually
Yeah, yeah,
frustrated that they have not been able to slow Modi down. He has not lost any of his drive and energy, which is a good thing for the country as such. And I'm sure the opposition will find ways to keep them on their toes, the ruling party. General, we have a lot of questions,
yeah. We'll take
and
them
maybe
on.
we should jump to questions now. Thank you,
Yeah,
sir.
sure. Please.
Rajan, thank you so much for becoming a YouTube member. Murali, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. JBJP wants to know, where were you, JBJP? We missed you for a while. What did the USA do now? Did they threaten Bharat after Russia visit?
Oh, there's no threat. There's no threat. They're just put out their concerns about this visit, and it's also a matter of timing because the visit happened. This is something which I want to highlight. The visit happened when there was a bombing of Kiev and children died there, and there's a lot of speculation from USA, or rather a hope that Prime Minister will cancel the visit, but he went through it. And he went through it and he said what he said. I explained to you. Just put it across. I mean, just expose it with the fact. Remember when the Ukraine war started, Imran Khan was in Russia and he got a lot of flack for it. He got lot of flack for it when he came back and said, wow, I was there when the war started. So people said, what were you doing there? And what did you speak? You did nothing. But here you see the difference. A prime minister is gone. Despite that bombing, you can't stop it. You had to go there. You had to talk. You had to, after all, Russia is too important for us. And then, and that's not our war, but there's a humanitarian thing which our prime minister has put across to President Putin. He's spoken in one-to-one. He's discussed Ukraine openly. Whatever they've discussed, we don't this thing. And he's gone to Austria and is, you know, said this is not the age of war, and he's convinced the Nobel laureate to say that he's spiritual, and he's spoken of larger issues. So I think the threat is not there, but I think a lot of understanding is required in USA.
Next question, please. Narayana wants to know one of two, sir. In what ways can Russia support India if China plus Pakistan become more aggressive?
Look, everyone, we don't need support from Russia. When China and Pakistan become aggressive, we'll handle them. I mean, I'm very confident of that. You need Russia's support for development, long-term development. Like I said, we need Russia for our space research. You need for the energy and your oil. After all, your energy security in terms of nuclear and fossil fuel is quite dependent on Russia today. You need technology. So you're looking at the long-term thing. When you look at the long-term thing, the short-term thing will get automatically taken care of. So it's not a problem, right? Pak army doesn't care if they. Well, look, don't. I think Narayana, you have to look over the fact about Pakistan. Uh, Pakistan has its own problems, and we'll discuss Pakistan. I've discussed Pakistan along with General Ata Hassan 3 days back. Have a look at that video. Look, I think Pakistan is a very marginal player in our scheme of things. We have to start believing in ourselves and start looking over Pakistan. Yeah. beyond Pakistan.
Manoj Soma wants to know, General Sir, Putin started to be slightly moving away from China. Some trade agreements have also been halted near the sea.
Yeah, possible. Look, there are strains between Russia and China. I've just highlighted one or two, where North Korea angle I've highlighted. Uh, Also, there's this island called Bolshoi Ussuriski, which is in the middle of Amur River. Now, the border between Russia and China was delineated and demarcated and delimited in the 70s. Okay, and that island was split in two between Russia and China. But in the new standard map which Russia has put out, sorry, which China has put out, that island has been shown as part of China. And now there are voices coming from within China, and they're being aired that they're talking of, areas Trans-Manchuria, that is in the area of Vladivostok. That, as per agreement, right, that was supposed to be returned back to China. I've done a video on that. Have a look at it. I did it about 15, 20 days back. Right? Now, these are strains which are coming. And then today I heard through a Nepalese handle that China is eyeing to extend its area in Tajikistan, which is again part of the Russo influence. And Russia is not very happy with the expanding influence of China in Central Asian republics, right? I spoke to you about Belarus. So there are issues between China and Russia. The way I look at it, they call it an no holds barred relationship with nothing is forbidden and all that. But I think it's quite transactional. It might last a year, two, three, but at some point of time things will change.
Next one, please. Chitra wants to know, thank you, Chitra. A great conversation as always, as I learned so much. Thank you so much, Chitra.
Thanks a lot, Chitra. Yeah.
VS wants to know, sirs, any comments on the banned chemicals orthochlorobenzidylene malonitrile CS India has seized in Kattupalli port, Chennai? Kattupalli, I think, which was bound for Pakistan from China.
I wouldn't know. I have not. I mean, this is a question which I wouldn't like to answer because I don't have knowledge about it. Yeah.
Tarun Rao wants to know, sir, Houthi claim that they have attacked around 160 ships of US, UK, and Israel. Why UK and USA are silent on this? No reaction till now. Please throw some light on this, sir.
Why they they have acted against Houthis, right? They have acted against Houthis. They've bombed Houthis. They've defended their ships. Everything is going on. I think you are not fully informed of it. USA is deployed its navy there for anti-Houthi action. So is UK. So we'll leave it at that.
NN wants to know, apart from China problem, anything else stopping US from sanctioning India and forcing them to have strategic ties with India? If China problem not there, US would come hard on India. Thoughts?
Yeah, that's always the case, isn't it? Earlier, before the Chinese issue came up, the way it has come up, right? India and US are on opposite sides. They never helped us in sorting out all the terrorist activities in Pakistan. They were mollycoddling Pakistan. It's only now that with Pakistan having betrayed them, and they know that they have no choice repeatedly, right? Backstab them is the word, that they're now coming to India. But having said that, uh, we've been sanctioned by USA many times. For if you go back, the sanction we were under MTCR, we are under a lot of sanctions. It is now that they've realized that sanctioning India is a bad bargain for them. So militarily, I don't think they will ever try it because China is not something which is going to go away in a hurry. China is a big player. You have to understand that China is not going to run away. You can't wish it away. So they can't sanction us. Sanctioning us is sanctioning themselves. That is something one has to understand. The second factor is everyone talks of China plus one. in shifting, de-risking, decoupling, shifting supply chains and all that. Who's this plus one? The plus one is India. So you can't sanction in India and then say, no, no, you have China plus one. Already you see the shift with Apple coming in. Others are slowly coming in. Nvidia is coming in to India. Samsung has already signaled, not signaled, started. So slowly over a period of time, things will shift. Now that shift won't happen in the next 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. It might happen over the next 10, 15, 20 years. When people say that, India will be a superpower by 2050, and this is not, India talking. This is someone, I think I'm forgetting his name. I think he's Martin Wolf or someone. I don't remember who it is. In Financial Times, he says India will be a superpower by 2050. They're factoring all these issues in. And you don't go around, and like, the last point I'd like to make is, so what if USA sanctions India? How does it matter? Have we not gone through these sanctions? Don't we know how to act against them? We can handle all these sanctions, so don't worry. Yeah, Martin Wolf, correct. Thanks, thanks. I was right, that means.
Sir, we have a quick gun Murugan, sir.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good. Yeah.
Akash Mihir wants to know, does US need India? They get a Christian country out of our seven
Hey,
sisters?
look, this is fancy thinking. There will be no Christian country out of the Seven Sisters. Just forget it.
Monofsan wants to know, is it true Rolls-Royce of UK has offered 100% tech transfer for jet engines? Also, what about the report of USA's Ukraine proxies attacking Russian nuclear warning radars in Orsk? How can US allow this?
All this will happen, but I've not heard of 100% tech transfer from Rolls-Royce so far, right?
That's the last
So
remaining jewel.
I don't think they'll do that. Um, Look, that this thing about nuclear warning radars, yeah, all that, there's all transactional issues. These will keep going on. All these news items will flow out. What actually happens is what one has to judge on.
Maithili wants to know, Namaskaram Shankarji, do you think if Trump comes to power, our relationship with US will become stronger?
No, I don't think so because there's no it. Look, uh, we had a strong relationship with USA when Trump was in power earlier. Everyone thought it will change, but it has become stronger, right? And so there'll be no change to that. What I want to put across to everyone is you have to go back. When did the US India relationship start? 2000. And this start was a dialogue between Mr. Stroke Talbot and Jaswant Singh Ji then. Uh, and from then, the trajectory of this relationship has been upward. And in fact, it is only for this reason that earlier in the day, in the morning, I put out a edited video of between Mrs. Shreya Iyer and self on Indo-US relations, which we did. We did this video um, just after the elections, right? As the election results were coming out, if you remember.
Right.
And I put it out as a precursor to today, this talk. I would suggest you go back and have a look at it, right? And you'll get an idea of the India-US relationship and where it is going. So it doesn't matter who comes to power. India-US relationship has to strengthen with time.
Next one, please. Brian Anderson says, Sir, what has Modi really achieved in the 10 years with respect to USA except buy weapons? Don't see a most favored, I think that's what MFA is, like China got in
Yeah.
the past. No jet engines, nuke reactors, no security guarantee versus China.
We don't need a security guarantee versus China. You need help, and they've given us help. Let's not get away from it. Or you see, the biggest gain we've got from this equation is our military to military relationship has gone very high. And Brian, you've been attending and you know my ideas. Uh, Today, there's a lot of synergy between US Armed Forces and Indian Armed Forces. And that is how we're going to do the control of the Indo-Pacific. That first thing has already started coming out in the North Arabian Sea and in the Red Sea, right? So it's already there. It's not a matter of buy weapons only. With weapons, we've got some technologies. And those weapons which we have got are pretty strategic stuff. For example, the Globemaster, the C-17s and all that, and the Chinooks. They're all strategic stuff. We also got a lot of help from them on space. So it's not so. And what about the day-to-day India-US business? What about people who want to come and study here? And what about our Indian diaspora, which is strong in US? There's a whole lot of layers to the India-US equation. There's nothing we can say, oh, Modi didn't do this or Manmohan Singh didn't do this. Like I said, this is a trajectory which has been on the up over the past 25, 30 years. In fact, I'm the wrong person to talk about it. It is Mr. Shriyar who should give a comment on this. Your views.
Yes, indeed, Brian. A lot of things have changed. The world has actually sat up and took notice of India. This started in the late 90s when India jumped in to help out in Y2K issues with various computers which were storing the year as two digits instead of four digits. So many computer software programs were storing the year as 99, 95. And then when that rolls over to 00, one did not know what kind of effects and compounding effect that will have in all these software. So the whole world suddenly got scared. I don't know how many places the year is being stored as a two-digit number. So India came to the help of the world. Suddenly, we had lots of people coming in and helping the world figure out their software, and the Y2K transition passed off smoothly. There was not a single glitch. That showed the power, the soft power of India, that India has in it how to help the world in the times of crisis. Next, 2020, when COVID hit, United States said that all the COVID vaccine that we are going to produce is for our own need. They actually said that. Whereas India said, yes, we have a little bit to spare with the world. And they did share it with the rest of the world. Big contrast at that point of time. So there are many things that India looks at as a world differently from other countries. India is believing in Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. The world is but a small family. That approach is getting more and more strengthened as we have BJP in power or NDA in power. This is the important takeaway here, and this is not quantifiable. It takes guts to go and sit with one of the most powerful presidents in the world, tell him to his face that you killed children, and that's not right. It takes guts.
Yeah. It's not a simple statement which, you can ignore. That's why I made the way things have been put across, and that's also a layered approach or, incremental approach. We've conveyed our thing. So I think we've got a lot.
Shanks wants to know, sir, it is a problem. US diplomats cannot be taking different contradicting White House. Well, let them say it. What is there? Doesn't matter. What General says is right. Officially, what is the policy? That's what you need to look at. Let people let off steam. I'm sorry, sir. I didn't even give you a
No,
chance
no,
to
no, no, no,
answer.
no, no. I agree with you. No, not an issue.
Srikanth Iyer wants to know, sir, namaste, a naive and maybe controversial question, but how does Russia control such a huge territory, keeping the land and people together? Some parts and people are so inaccessible.
Look, when you control a set of people, it's by communications, it's by culture, it is by, your governmental systems and all that. And Siberia being part of Russia is, historical, right from the Tsar's times. So it's a system which is developed, right? In fact, if you go back, the USSR was even bigger. What today Russia you see is the remnant of the USSR. It itself has 7 time zones. Just think of what it was earlier. There are ways to do all this, and Russia has still got a powerful military. It's not as if it's gone off the radar or off. the table.
Next one, please. Narayana wants to know, sir, what are your views on NOK in India Army?
Look, I know there's a controversy brewing in India about the NOK business and all that. This is not the right time to talk of it. We'll leave it at that.
Thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. This was a wonderful discussion we had. Viewers, I loved the questions that you put up. Not exactly easy to answer at the spur of the moment, but I think General sailed through fine. His vast knowledge, we are beginning to see that, the gems. And once again, thank you so much, sir. We'll be back with more such episodes, and you're going to have a few surprises down the road. And you will know when I say that. Namaskar.
Namaskar. Thank you.